With that, so let's go ahead and get into what's going on when it comes to the debt situation. So we know that what was it, last Thursday? It was Thursday, right? Thursday was Thanksgiving. Yeah. And then so Black Friday, obviously everybody knows Black Friday, and then they added Cyber Monday and all this stupid stuff. I always find it funny that you have Thanksgiving, which is a day about being thankful for what you have, and then they have multiple days, pretty much the entire weekend, where everybody is literally beating each other with sticks trying to get something that honestly isn't actually on sale because they jacked the prices up about 2 weeks before, and then they bring it back down to the original price saying that it's a sale. So everybody just beats each other to go and get more stuff, even though the next day, the day before, was all about being grateful for what you have. It doesn't make any sense. But ultimately, that's what we have going on. And we would think in this environment, with everything with the economy and all this stuff, that sales would be down. You would be wrong. You would be wrong. Just keeps on going. It says majority will rely on financing. That's right. Why pay today when I could not pay it tomorrow? For Black Friday, Cyber Monday, despite discounts. Coming from the hedge here. It says millennials are the most likely among the 4 generations to resort to financing with credit cards or buy now, pay later schemes. For this year's Black Friday and Cyber Monday purchases, while only 55% of baby boomers will likely resort to these tactics to take full advantage of discounts offered by e-commerce platforms and retailers. Raise of hands. How many of you did not buy anything this weekend? Raise of hands. I'm sure there's a lot of people that didn't buy anything this weekend. It says this data stems from a Deloitte consumer survey conducted in October of 2024. As Statista's Florian Zant's details show, my word, among all financing methods surveyed, credit cards were the most popular, 53% respondent share. Despite shoppers planning to stretch their budgets, either by paying at a later date or shouldering more. My word, that chat just went flying all of a sudden. I saw that out of the corner of my eye. It says budgets either by paying at a later date or shouldering more credit card debt. These survey results suggest that average per consumer spending will increase to $650 for the period between Thanksgiving Thursday and Cyber Monday. Per customer spending an extra $650 either slapped down on a credit card or a buy now, pay later scheme. That's the mindset of today's driven society, is just more. I need stuff. Give me more stuff. It's just, this is the mindset, and they don't care how they get it. They just want it. This spending expectation is seemingly unaffected by the multiple crises, like the war in Ukraine and the coronavirus pandemic, influencing the world's economy. Since 2019, spending has increased at a compound growth rate of almost 10% per year. It's crazy. We're apparently in such a downturn economically, but yet everybody is spending more. Now, is that because of inflation, or is this just an actual thing of just spending more? That's the question. They don't give us that information, obviously, but it's worth thinking about there. While annual credit card payments have shot past 50 billion transactions in 2022, schemes like buy now, pay later have only recently become popular. According to WorldPay's 2024 Global Payments Report, buy now, pay later was utilized for 5% of domestic e-commerce payments to the U.S., up 3% points from 2020. Out of the 41 countries and territories surveyed, buy now, pay later was especially popular in Sweden, Germany, Norway, and e-commerce purchase shares of 21, and 15%. Sweden ranking as highly is unsurprising, since Klarna, one of the premier buy now, pay later providers, was founded in 2005 in Sweden's capital of Stockholm. So we have this thing here where it's just more and more grip on this world, where they think stuff will make them happy. They think buying more stuff will make them happy. Things that they don't need, which is always sad to me, honestly. Which, like, if you are in a position where you can go and get something fun or whatever, go for it. That's fine. I got no problem with that. But when, you're just you can't afford it, you're living outside of your means, and then you continue to push money debt down the road because you want something that you'll probably use 3 times and then shove it in your closet, is pretty bad. But this is something that they've been training, at least here in the United States. It seems other countries as well, European countries as well, where it's in order to be happy, you have to buy more stuff. And that's the thing that Satan loves to push, obviously. You don't need Jesus, even though you have a Jesus-sized hole in your heart that the only thing that can fill it is Jesus. You just need more stuff. Try and fill that hole with as much stuff as you can. And doesn't work, especially since I don't have anything to show you, but especially since depression is at an all-time high in society globally now, at an all-time high, is because they continue to look towards the wrong answers. Even Christians, and I'm not talking about like clinical depression. I suffer from that. I actually got Spurgeon on my shirt. People don't realize that he suffered from extreme depression, even though he was known as, like the Prince of Preachers type of deal. I know there's some crazy people out there, pastors included, that say Christians can't be depressed. If you suffer from depression, that you're not a Christian. That is absolutely false. Don't even listen to those people because they have no idea what they're talking about. But there's just more depression in itself because people are still holding on to the world, and the world is crumbling and it's dark in front of them. So if that's what everybody's holding on to, then depression is certainly going to go a little bit higher than what it should be. But I brought this up because as we continue to see more and more of this money being thrown at stuff that we don't need, the debt of this country continues to skyrocket as well. And so it's grown like 2 trillion in this year, which is crazy. So it says national debt tops 36 trillion. It says on Thursday, this was November 22nd, so a few days ago. So on Thursday, the gross U.S. national debt surpassed 36 trillion for the first time, according to the data from the Treasury Department. Debt held by the public, a subset of the gross national debt that excludes the debt the government owes to itself, has been rising to record highs and now exceeds 28 billion. The unwelcome milestones arrived just 4 months after the gross debt hit 35 trillion for the first time. The debt is expected to increase by trillions of dollars at a fairly rapid clip for the foreseeable future unless lawmakers act to change course. It says we started 2024 by crossing the 34 trillion threshold, added another trillion during the summer, and now we're heading into the holidays with yet another trillion, 2 trillion in debt in 1 year. This is ridiculous, said Maya McGuinness, president of the Committee for the Responsible Federal Budget. The responsible, that anything but responsible. A nonpartisan group that advocates for debt and deficit reduction. Government borrowing is becoming as certain as the changing of the seasons these days. McGuinness noted that interest payments on the debt are now the fastest growing part of the budget and are projected to cost roughly 13 trillion over the next decade. Wow, 13 trillion in interest. So here's a little thing I just want everybody to think about, because I don't think people necessarily think about this. I know there are some, but I think there's some that don't. They just naturally think, man, we're in debt. We've got so much debt. And how are we going to get out of this debt? Here's the question, though. Who are we in debt to? Now, when you ask most people about this, they'll go, oh, we're in debt, like China and stuff like that. No. You don't get 36 trillion in debt with China, especially when China's in debt themselves. That's not how that works. Who are we in debt to? Well, that would be the bankers, the Luciferians, the ones around the table. If all these countries are in debt, and there's many of them out there, if all these countries are in debt to the Luciferians, they're the ones in control of this money supply, that when the transition, the Great Reset, which hasn't happened yet, comes about, well, they're going to install it with their system again, wiping out the debt that was there, installing a new one. And this was the plan all along. So when you become in debt with the Luciferians like that, who are obviously trying to guide us towards what Revelation tells us is going to happen, then all of it makes sense, doesn't it? When you just sit there and go, well, we're in debt to China, and then you look at the facts and go, well, that's just not possible. Well, then things don't necessarily make sense. That's why I think it's sometimes good to, we loved, and I'm That's what I love doing. I love looking at the little details of stuff. But sometimes the best idea is to back up and look at the whole big picture at itself and go, okay, who are we actually in debt to? And it answers a lot of questions. But that's the best way to transition over into this new system, because as we know, the financial system globally, not just here in the United States, but the global financial system has to be completely wiped out in order to bring in the next financial system, which of course is going to be the one world economy that obviously there might be some little stepping stones and transitions once we get the digital stuff involved, but that's going to fold into the one world economy that we read about Revelation. And so this is definitely a key part of that. You have to destroy what's already there to bring in the new. And so they're actively destroying the United States dollar right now, as well as other currencies as well. You got to get rid of those fiat currencies in order to bring in the new system. And that's exactly what they're doing. So this fits right in line with the plans that we've been seeing, especially since the new guy coming in, Trump, that's going to be taking over. He's one that's been banging the table for the new crypto capital of the world, Bitcoin reserve, blockchain system. He's the one that wants to bring in the digital. Now everybody says he's against it because he doesn't like the CBDCs. Well, yeah, he doesn't like the name CBDCs because it goes along with what the globalists say. What he does like are stable coins, which is the fascist version of the CBDCs. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but that's ultimately what it is. And so he wants to transition us into that. And so when he comes in, he's already working on getting deregulations on the banking to get it done. So we see here crypto foe and SEC Chair Gary Gensler will quit when Trump takes office. Gensler's plan to fully leave the commission, not just step down as chairman, on January 20th answers the major question of whether he'd stick around to defend his policies until his term ends in 2026. U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission Chair Gary Gensler, a frequent foe of the cryptocurrency industry, obviously this goes against what Trump wants to bring in, said he will fully leave the agency the day Donald Trump becomes president in January. He's not just stepping down as head of the U.S. Of the main U.S. securities regulator. He will also not stick around as a commissioner, meaning he won't be around to defend his regulatory policies, which have included an aggressive stance towards crypto. That would be no bueno. If we keep going, says at the SEC, Trump's election victory paves the way for a rollback in regulations. What might be the priorities for the incoming SEC chair? That will depend very much on the incoming chairman. There's little doubt a Republican-led SEC will be more sympathetic to crypto. Gensler has said he believes most cryptocurrencies are securities. I think there will be an attempt to more clearly define which cryptocurrencies are or are not securities, which would go a long way towards clearing up regulatory uncertainty. There will likely be a bigger push for broad legislation in Congress that would give much of the power to regulate crypto to the CFTC. If we keep going, it says Trump looks ready to shake up the SEC while Wall Street will be smiling. Why will Wall Street be smiling? Well, because most of the people that Trump is connected to and he's put in his administration have some type of connection to Wall Street. Does that surprise anybody? It shouldn't. Just keep in mind, Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, is actually the guy who handles Trump's books. So just keep that in mind. There are a lot, and guess who controls Wall Street and the government spending? BlackRock. There are a lot of things that Donald Trump says he'll change when he takes office. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission will be fairly high on that list. At a Bitcoin conference in July, that's the same one he said he wants to create a United States Bitcoin reserve, by the way. Trump vowed to fire SEC Chair Gary Gensler on day one. Too late. He's already said he's stepping down. Wall Street is one of the industries that Trump promised to free from the Biden administration's regulations, which critics call burdensome. That liberation may get a boost from the new administration's efficiency guru, Elon Musk, who has had his own beefs with securities regulator. Question, where's JD Vance? Has anybody seen him? I haven't seen him. He disappeared about as well as Biden did for the past couple months. Remember when Biden was just gone for like 2 months? Well, Vance seems to be doing the same thing. It's always Trump and Musk, Trump and Musk, Trump and Musk. Never any Vance. I always find that interesting. Who's the real VP in all of this? Something to think about. I would say it's actually Peter Thiel, because he controls Vance and he's doing all the stuff behind. But you guys understand what I'm saying. I think Musk is the face when it comes to that. All right, we got one more here. It says Trump's epic deregulation must preserve financial stability. Given that he was just elected, Donald Trump's plans for financial regulation are, like so much else, a mystery. Yet his campaign's disdain for the administrative state, there we go, and the public's growing exasperation with red tape suggests the country is in for a period of bureaucratic humility. Here's hoping the financial system doesn't become vulnerable as a result. It will be. Where the financial system is concerned, deregulation may be especially fraught. Last time around, Trump scaled back several major rules adopted after the global financial crisis, an effort that may have contributed to last year's spate of bank failures. Yes, talk about that in just a second. Weakening requirements further without due discretion could create needless risk. So far, what we've got going on is we've got insane spending, and a debt owed to the Luciferians. And then we have a guy coming in who wants to basically devalue the dollar. He has said it multiple times that the dollar is too strong. We need to devalue the dollar, which only adds to the destruction of the dollar, de-dollarization, which adds to the ability to flip the financial system into a digital blockchain system, which is exactly what he's said he wants to do. And so everything is lining up perfectly to do this, and that's right in line with what the world is preparing for when it comes to this transition. Now, something on this, that is not the right one. There it is. This one right here, it says, where the financial system is concerned, deregulation might be especially fraught. Last time around, Trump scaled back several major rules adopted after the global financial crisis, an effort that may have contributed to last year's spate of bank failures. If you guys remember back in 2023 and early 2024, there's that string of a whole bunch of banks going belly up. And then there was buyouts and all this stuff going on. And remember back then, all the financial guys were going, it's here, we're all going to die. And it never happened. Where have we heard that before? Well, one of the causations for that had to do with a rule during the Trump administration that happened in 2020. Or deregulation rule by Trump in 2020, where it made banks zero reserve. And basically that means that banks no longer had to hold reserve for coverages. And when the creditors come, asking for things, they can pay it off with the reserves. He got rid of that, meaning banks and financial institutions don't have to hold anything. And when the creditors come knocking and there's nothing to pay it with, they go belly up. And so this was something that happened. He changed it. I think it was a 20% reserve that was required. He got rid of that requirement where you don't have to hold anything. And so if we go back, this was this was March 15th, 2020. We can see here, we just went from fractional reserve banking to zero reserve banking, and it's a pretty big deal. As announced on March 15, 2020, the board reduced reserve requirement ratios to 0% effective March 26, 2020. This action eliminated reserve requirements on all depository institutions, which means they don't have to hold anything. And it makes it that much easier to go belly up. Make it that what you will, but if he's planning on bringing some more of that stuff with him, then that transition to the digital currency is going to be pretty quick, in my opinion, to say the least. So with what we got going on, we're seeing a major transition into a digital blockchain financial system. He has confirmed this. This is what he wants. Basically, we've got the glutton of debt plus a spending increase plus inflation plus the devaluing of the dollar. Plus, we are a consumer country. We are no longer a producing country. We are a consuming country, which that is also planned too, because when you pass all of the industry out abroad and have nothing at home, then you are not creating anything at home. You can't hold on to your own values at that point. You can't be self-sufficient at that point because everything's abroad. And so that also adds on to all of this when it comes to the destruction of the dollar, downfall of the economy, and when things start going south, things go south very, very quickly. Another aspect to this has to do, of course, with the AI and robotics takeover. This also comes with mass layoffs. So we're seeing mass layoffs mainly, not exclusively, but mainly in the technology field. Coders, production, like chip production, hardware production type stuff. We're seeing a whole bunch of layoffs, even when it comes to banking and trading. A lot of stock market hedge funds are getting rid of their traders and whatnot because they're being replaced with AI automation, which I don't see how that's even legal. But again, they make the rule. Wall Street makes the rules, so what does it matter? But they're using these programs in order to make trades and figure everything out and do all this stuff, and they don't need humans anymore. And so this leads to mass layoffs. This leads to AI takeover, robotics takeover. We're seeing a lot of warehouse jobs starting to get taken over by robotics and whatnot. Then there's the unhinged stock market, which of course the stock market is rigged. Don't ever believe that it's not. They own that stuff, but it's unhinged. How many times have we seen it skyrocket and plummet and skyrocket and plummet? That is not healthy. That shows that the stock market is in shambles at that point, and it continues to hit highs all the time and all that stuff. That's not good. That is not a healthy market, and we're seeing more and more of that. Plus the testing of UBI systems. They've been testing these in local spots, as well as we know the big test that they did in 2020 with all of the helicopter money that they were giving out. That was a test for a UBI system. Of course, we see people like Elon Musk and Sam Altman and Peter Thiel and the techno bros and stuff saying that we're going to need a UBI system in the future. Obviously, that's going to be playing a part with this. And of course, I mentioned Trump wants to bring in a Bitcoin reserve as well as the crypto capital of make the United States the crypto capital of the world. And he supports stable coins. So all of this is working together in harmony to make all this happen. So take with that what you will, honestly, but this is just another sure sign that we are moving towards that quote unquote great reset. Some people said that they canceled that. Some people said it already happened. I'm sitting there going, no, just because it's not being talked about doesn't mean that any of those have occurred. It's still very much in effect. The Great Reset just hasn't happened yet. That's going to be the transition that I believe will happen when all the wars and the financial stuff and everything takes place. And then I hold the Matthew 24, obviously, where that's going to take place after the rapture of the church. That's what I believe, at least. But massive dollar devaluation and talks of negative interest rates also plays a part in this as well. Trump has talked about how he wants to have negative interest rates, which that's just not good ever. But yeah, that stuff is still loaded for deployment, which would contribute to this financial system reset. And of course, we know that he's all for the stablecoin stuff. So yeah, it's interesting. There's some interesting stuff when it comes to how everything is interworking, but then when you look at the big picture, it all makes sense as well with what's going on. So my biggest suggestion, and again, I'm not a financial advisor, and this is just my opinion, but it's not crashing tomorrow. I know that there's thousands of YouTube channels out there, even some in the prophecy sphere, that continue to post things going, it's going to happen tomorrow. Everything's collapsing tomorrow. Is this leading to this and all that type of stuff? And it never does. That's been going on for years now, and it never happens. Everybody says they've got some type of inside scoop, and it doesn't happen. Again, my opinion, not a financial advisor. I'm just saying it's not crashing tomorrow, so don't panic about this stuff, really. Again, we made it through that whole thing, the bank collapses and stuff last year when everybody was shouting, it's the end, it's doomed to everybody. And here we sit. So just keep that in mind. That's what I got to say about that.